Has he
No.
told you anything about prison?
No, we got to see him one time. That was that Monday, right before the plea deal. That Monday
Right
night.
before the plea deal, and that was it.
These are the parents of Chris Watts, the man who pled guilty to killing his pregnant wife, Shanann, and 2 kids, Bella and Celeste.
How did he kill her? How did he say he did it when he snapped?
He said he did the same thing that she did to him, that she did to the girls.
His parents went into details about the relationship problems Shanann and Chris allegedly had, but more importantly, spoke about the frustrations with his whole plea.
Are you guys frustrated with his attorneys here? Are you guys frustrated with the direction they may have put him through?
Yes, I am. I am absolutely frustrated.
We contacted his public defender, but they declined to comment.
Do you guys think he was coerced at all?
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea what the public, to me, that all they wanted to do was just save his life. Just save his life. Well, save his life and life in prison, to me, there's no difference. You know, he's going to die in prison, and there's no telling what will be done to him in prison. And I just want him to fight. I want him to not take this plea deal. I want him to plead not guilty to the children.
After this interview, the Watts are looking into different legal avenues, even looking at another attorney in Denver to take their son's case. But there's been some reaction about all this from Shanann's family.
Are you guys worried about some of the backlash about maybe coming out and speaking on behalf of Chris and what it might do to your guys' relationship, and, you know, speaking out like this about a woman who can't defend herself right now?
Well, Shanann, I mean, you have to get to know her to be around her. Put it that way.
Her family's attorney sent us this statement. Their false statements, however hurtful and inaccurate, will never alter the truth about Shanann and will never alter the truth about the crimes committed by their son. Her memory and reputation deserves to be protected, and her family is fully prepared to do so.
I just want to make sure he's doing the right thing.
Yes.
I mean, if he didn't kill the children, I want him to say so. And let them prove it.
I spoke to a longtime friend of both Shanann and Chris who saw the interview. Out of respect of the families, he didn't want to do an on-camera interview, but said both families are hurting and just hope for the family's sake that Chris doesn't continue to fight this and go to trial.
I didn't want them just to save his life or to life in prison. I wanted them to have a defense. You know, there was a defense there.
Welcome to Dark Matters, True Crime, the channel where every case drags you deeper into the unknown. Hit that subscribe button and join us as we explore the darkest corners of the human mind.
By early 2025, the world had mostly settled into the cold, uncomfortable truth of the Watts murders. But inside the Rzucek family home, the wounds had never formed a scab. They were still raw, still burning, still stealing sleep from 2 grieving parents who replayed every memory of Sean and like a looped prayer. And then, Sandra Rzucek decided she was done being quiet. Her letter, released in January 2025, traveled the internet like a spark hitting dry timber. No soft edges, no polite pauses. It was a mother's fury, sharpened by grief, and finally unleashed after 7 years of hearing the Watts family speak, deny, defend, and distort.
I believe in afterlife awareness, and I do believe that Shanann and Nico and Bella and Cece have access. And
What did they say to me when they came to see me?
have they?
Yes.
And what did Cece say?
The first night when they found Shannon's body, I'm going to be honest with you, Dr. Phil. I was laying in the bed weeping so hard, talking to God, and I said, you know, I could just end my life now and go find my daughter. I had fallen asleep. The next morning, I get a phone call, and they found Shannon's body. I said, do you want me to identify her on the phone? And he said, yeah, you could do that. And I said, is she beautiful? He said, yes. I said, does she have black hair? And he said, yes. And I said, then you have my daughter. That night, I was laying in bed and I just felt a presence, and I heard my daughter. I felt her, and I heard her say, I love you, Mommy, and I'm sorry. She told me she was at peace. I finally fell asleep with my daughter at my presence, and she slept with me. I just felt her. The following day, I get a phone call, and they said, Sandy, we found your granddaughter, but we're not sure which one. And I said, Bella's a little taller. She's pretty slimmer. She don't get a little belly. And if you pull her hair up a little bit, because I do their hair, and it would be so long, you know, and then I realized all the oil, they would never know. So they said, who's the one that wears a pull-up? And I said, that would be Cece. They said, well, then we have Cece. And I said, well, keep going. I said, find my Bella. And 2 hours later, they did.
It was hard for them to even tell us. You know, you could hear it in their voices. I couldn't imagine trying to be in their shoes, trying to tell the parents what they just found. Yeah.
And it was 2 hours later that they said they had found
Yeah, she was
Bella.
at the bottom of the drum. And their skin was falling off as they were trying to get them out. Everybody needed so much therapy after that. Our hearts just go out to all of them that work so damn hard on this case.
And you felt Cece and Bella's presence.
I felt Cece's presence. She was first. And she goes, hiya, Nana. And I could see her, but in my mind, you know, but I could hear her. And she said, you've been always so good to us, Nana. And we love you with our soul. And I always took their face and kissed them all over. And she grabbed my face and just kissed me all over. And Shannon said, it's okay now. And we gave kisses, and she turns her to her left. And then Bella came in, and Bella went kind of like, hi, Nana, you know? You know, just like the way she, I don't know, just the way she did it, yeah. And she said, guess what, Nana? And I said, what, Bella? And she said, I can go to Walt Disney World anytime I want. And I said, that's right, Bella. That's right. She thanked us for loving her so much.
And that's how you remember those two?
Yes, after I saw Bella and Cece, and then Shannon was standing there. I could see her body, but kind of see-through, and then just her upper part turned, and then I couldn't see who was handing the baby to her, and she handed me my grandson, and looks just like Frankie. It's crazy, but looks just like Frankie. So
Sandra wrote about the real Sean and the daughter who fought through lupus, raised 2 giggling girls, and held a husband together long before he ever claimed to feel controlled. But the heart of her letter was aimed directly at Cindy Watts. Sandra revealed moments she had never shared publicly. Times she watched Cindy recoil when Sean and walked into a room. Times Cindy called Sean and too much, too dramatic, even unstable. And the moment, years before the tragedy, when Cindy told her son that he deserved better. Sandra described Cindy's behavior as calculated and cold, a slow drip of disapproval that flowed straight into Chris' ear, shaping him, isolating him, and ultimately feeding the darkness that would later swallow an entire family. Her words were not meant to heal. They were meant to warn. Sandra ended chapter 1 of her truth bomb with a line that sent a shiver through every reader. What happened in 2018 didn't begin in 2018. It began inside the Watts home long before my daughter ever knew what danger she was living beside. For more deep dive true crime stories, survivor accounts, and hidden chapters the world missed, make sure you like and subscribe to Dark Matters True Crime. Your support brings these unseen truths into the light. Sandra Rzucek's letter didn't simply point fingers. It peeled back the wallpaper of the Watts household, revealing a history of subtle hostility that most of the public never saw. While Sean tried to blend into Chris's family, Sandra wrote that Cindy made it almost impossible. It wasn't loud. It wasn't screaming. It was worse. It was quiet, deliberate, and constant. Sandra described family gatherings where Cindy would ignore Shanann's greetings, turning her head as if her presence disrupted the decor. Times when Sean cooked meals and Cindy refused to touch the food. Times when she would pull Chris aside, whispering to him, shooting glances toward his wife as though Sean were an intruder rather than a daughter-in-law. Sandra revealed that Sean often cried after those visits, confused about why her kindness was met with stone walls. To the outside world, Chris was the calm one, the easygoing one, but Sandra said something different was happening behind the curtain. Chris shrank in those moments, nodding silently to his mother as she dissected his wife's personality. Each insult, Sandra wrote, was another thread Cindy pulled from the fabric of their marriage. She spoke about birthdays Cindy didn't attend, gifts she refused to accept, and one moment in particular, a summer barbecue, when Cindy commented that Shanann was too bossy to be a good mother. Shanann held Bella in her arms when she heard it. Chris said nothing, and that silence, Sandra said, became the foundation of something darker. A silence that grew into resentment. A silence that created distance. A silence that, years later, would be twisted into Chris's justification for the unthinkable. Sandra's message was clear. What happened to my daughter wasn't sudden. It was built piece by people who should have protected her. Sandra's letter shifted into a moment she said, still gnaws at her bones. A moment she called the turning point, the day she saw Cindy what's not just as disapproving but dangerous. It was the now infamous Peanut Gate incident, but Sandra's account added details the public never heard. Shanann had taken Celeste's severe nut allergy seriously, EpiPens, labeled snacks, endless doctor visits. But when the family traveled to North Carolina that summer, Cindy dismissed it all as overreacting. She insisted the allergy was exaggerated, even fabricated, and, according to Sandra, made comments about Shanann looking for attention. Then came the moment that shattered any chance of reconciliation. Sandra wrote that Shanann walked into Cindy's kitchen and froze. On the counter sat a bowl of ice cream with peanut chips, the exact food Celeste could never touch. Shanann asked Cindy why it was there, and Cindy answered, she won't get sick from a tiny bit. Kids need exposure. Sandra claimed that Shanann's voice shook as she reminded Cindy how dangerous that was. But Cindy shrugged it off, almost amused. Chris walked in moments later, and instead of supporting Shanann, he told her she was being dramatic. Sandra wrote that Shanann called her sobbing, terrified for her daughter's safety. Not frustrated, not annoyed, terrified. The next morning, Sandra said she marched into a local pharmacy where Shanann was waiting in the car. She bought extra EpiPens, children's antihistamines, and a medical ID bracelet. She described Shanann sitting there, shoulders trembling, whispering, I don't think they like us, Mom. Sandra wrote, what I saw that week was a family willing to gamble with a child's life just to win an argument. A crack formed that summer, and the crack became a canyon. Like and subscribe to Dark Matters True Crime for more deep dives into hidden evidence, survivor stories, and the dark corners of real criminal cases. Sandra said the breaking point arrived quietly, not with shouting, not with chaos, but with a single phone call that left her gripping her kitchen counter, the air ripped from her lungs. It was late evening. Shanann had been in North Carolina for weeks, trying desperately to mend fences with the Watts family, hoping Chris would step up and remind his parents to respect their daughter's medical needs. Instead, Sandra said she got a call from Shanann, and that felt like listening to someone slowly losing their faith in the man they married. Shanann whispered through tears, Mom, Chris won't defend us. Not once. Not even his own daughters. According to Sandra's letter, this wasn't about the peanut ice cream anymore. It was about something deeper, a pattern she'd begun to see clearly. Chris had snapped earlier that day. Not loudly, not violently, but with a coldness Shanann had never heard before. She told her mother, he said, you're making problems where there aren't any. My family thinks you exaggerate everything. Sandra said she felt something in her go still. She asked Shanann if she felt safe. Shanann hesitated. That, Sandra wrote, was when fear replaced anger. She urged Shanann to come home early. Shanann refused, determined to fix things for the sake of her daughters. But Sandra said she could hear a tremor in her voice, like someone standing on rotting wood. Later that night, Sandra said she heard her husband Frank mutter under his breath, he's changing, and not in a way I like. Sandra wrote that she didn't sleep, not because she knew what was coming, But because she suddenly understood something chilling, Chris wasn't slipping away, he had already slipped. Frank rarely gave interviews, and when he did, his voice carried the weight of a man who'd buried not just his daughter and grandbabies, but the truth he saw long before the world caught up.
Last summer, on August 13, 2018, my daughter Shanann Watts and her children were murdered. They were killed by Shannon's husband and the children's father, Chris Watts. I can't possibly describe how painful the last 11 months have been for myself, my wife, and my son, Frankie Jr., and for everyone else who cared so much about Shanann and her children. Just dealing with this type of tragedy is more than a family should bear. But I am making a statement today because for the past 11 months, piled on top of pain and the grieving of this devastating loss, our family has been subject to, horribly, cruelly abused, outright bullying, and on a daily basis. I don't want to draw more attention to the viral material that has been posted online, and so I don't want to go into specifics, but I will say that our family, including Shanann and her children and our grandchildren, have been ridiculed, demeaned, slandered, mocked in the most vicious ways you can imagine. We have been subject to false accusations, fake Facebook accounts, hate speeches, and constant stream of ugly, evil insults and attacks. Every time we turn around, there is someone trying to capitalize on our tragedy. By spreading false rumors and outright lies about Shanann and our grandchildren. We have been subject to threats on our lives, all because we are victims in painful tragedy. This is so wrong. It is cruel, it is heartless, and it's flat wrong. It breaks my heart to know that we are not the first family to have to live through this kind of tragedy, and we won't be the last. Families like ours should have the right to be safe and the right, a basic level of privacy, the right to mourn in peace. And it boils my blood that my family and other families are dealing with worse imaginable tragedy, have to deal with this kind of cruelty and bullying. It needs to stop. To Congress, or to any position in power, we are calling on you to do something to pass laws that will protect victims of unspeakable crimes from this kind of abuse. Our online social media sites like Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, we have contacted you many times, reported this abuse, but no avail. We are calling on you again to do the right thing, to take some responsibility for your platforms and stop this despicable conduct. To the people who feel they are entitled to profit off our loss, we urge you, please stop. And for the people who are interested in this case, who feel compelled to comment and discuss, please stick to the truth. It is painful enough for us to just dealing with the reality. Reading the insane conspiracy theories, ugly false rumors, and lies only make it more painful. Finally, to the people who have stood with us, who have supported us and prayed for us and our family, For Shanann and her grandchildren, we can't thank you enough. God bless you all, and thank you for your time. Thank you.
Hey, Frank, quick question, and ask this respectfully, but was there any fear about coming forward because you're now giving these people that are saying this stuff even more for their platforms, if you will?
No.
And did you come here back to Colorado here today, I mean, for the sole purpose of doing this?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Why? Because I felt it needed to be done here at her house.
Because that's how bad it is.
Yes, it is.
I mean, are people, you know, it sounds like a lot of this is happening in the online space. I know you don't want to go too much into it, but people hide behind those names on the internet, and it sounds like that's what's kind of going on.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that and how that's...
Basically, it's a non-stop thing. Everybody's talking about things that were not done correctly, and keep pushing the issues. It's a lot of ugly out there. A lot of ugly.
I mean, how is your family, this should be your time to grieve. You went through the court process. This should be your time to, you know, to grieve. And it sounds like you haven't even fully been able to do that very well because of everything else that's been going on.
No, we haven't. It's not that we're looking at the stuff that's on YouTubes and Facebook, and it gets sent to us.
Have you had people contact you directly, some of these things that are out there? Have they contacted the family directly?
Not personally on our, live stuff, but on computer type, your phones and stuff.
Like Facebook messages, have they tried to contact you, some of these folks?
What would you tell those people? I mean, I know some of them might watch this or post this on the internet tonight. What would you tell them? Like
I've been telling them for the longest time, just stop. Please just stop. Get on with your lives. Leave ours alone. We can't grieve. It's just a non-stop thing. They know who they are. We have a lot of YouTubers out there that are, I'll mention YouTubers, and they are backing us. But there's a lot out there that are just terrible.
You mentioned lawmakers. I mean, is there something that you...
In his 2025 letter, he finally put words to the instincts he'd swallowed for years. He wrote that Chris was quiet in ways that weren't peaceful, quiet in ways that hid things. Not shy, not awkward, but detached, as if he were rehearsing emotions instead of feeling them. Frank said the first time he felt something was wrong was during a visit to Colorado. Shanann, exhausted and newly pregnant, asked Chris for help carrying groceries. Frank described how Chris didn't even look up. He kept scrolling on his phone, unmoved, like her voice barely reached him. Most men jump when their pregnant wife asks for help, Frank wrote. But Chris looked annoyed. That stuck with me. The moment he couldn't shake came months later, just weeks before the murders. Frank recalled Chris holding Cece and staring past her, not at her, through her, as if she were a chore instead of his child. I've seen tired fathers. I've seen stressed fathers, Frank wrote. But I'd never seen a father look at his daughter like she was in the way. Frank said he never wanted to alarm Shanann, who was already drowning in stress. But after that visit, he told Sandra, "Something is off with that boy, and I don't think it's just marriage problems." Sandra, according to Frank, brushed it off as exhaustion, but he didn't. In the letter, he wrote a line that has kept readers frozen. "If I had trusted my gut earlier, maybe I would have pulled her out of that house." He ended the chapter with a truth he can't unsee. The darkness was there. We just didn't know how deep it went. Sandra's voice trembles when she talks about Cindy Watts. Not with fear, but with the uneasy recognition of someone who saw a storm gathering long before it finally broke. In 2025, she finally shared pieces she'd kept quiet out of respect for Shanann. But now, with distance and devastation behind her, she speaks plainly. From the very beginning, Cindy treated Shanann like competition. Not a daughter-in-law, not an addition to the family, but an intruder. Sandra says one of the earliest signs was during a family gathering when Shanann tried to help clean up. Instead of a thank you, Cindy snapped, "I don't need you to take over my kitchen." Sandra recalls Shanann and telling her later, voice small, that she had never felt so unwelcome. But the moment that truly rattled Sandra wasn't the infamous nut incident. It wasn't even the cold stares or the whispered insults. It was the day Cindy insisted she knew Chris better than anyone, even better than Shanann, and claimed Chris was too good for her.
I wake up every morning just crying, thinking this is not going to be what's going to happen every single day. It's just so hard to get through it. I just don't know how to get through it.
Tell me about his childhood. Did he play sports? Was he in scouts? What kinds of things did
Yes,
he
he
do?
played sports. He played sports from the time he was 5 years old up until he was 17. And he was in basketball, he was in baseball, he was in football, and loved NASCAR. He and his dad went to the NASCAR races all the time. Loved sports, and he was a good kid. Had two best friends, and that's who he grew up with, and still are friends with them today. And there's nothing that would have predicted any of this could have ever happened.
Yeah.
Nothing in his childhood at all. I would have never in a million years thought something like this could happen to him at all.
You didn't see things like him getting into fights? Or...
No fighting. He was quiet, and he got along with people, and he didn't start anything, and he was a perfect teenager, tell you the truth. He did not even rebel. He wanted to go to NASCAR Tech. We made that possible for him.
What did he do after he finished school?
He worked at the dealership as a service technician and was making good money and loved it. He bought a toolbox, and he started buying his tools, and enjoyed it. He was doing well.
When and where did he meet Shanann?
They met, and he liked her, she liked him, but it didn't, I don't think that was love at first sight or anything. They took a little while and I guess got to know each other and, dated. It was always a little strange that she always said a lot of things about Chris in front of me that I didn't like. Like, this isn't the kind of person I would date. He doesn't know how to do this, or he doesn't know how to do that. He looks like a skater boy. Look at his hair. Look how much stuff he puts on his hair. It was just on and on and on, and I just got a bad feeling.
And they got married in 2012. Did they get married in North Carolina?
They did. Mm-hmm.
How was that?
We didn't attend.
Really?
Mm-mm. We didn't attend because Shanann and I just couldn't get along, and I didn't like the way she treated him.
What do you know about their marriage and their issues?
Oh, very little, very little. You can only observe. I could only observe what I saw when I was around them. Christopher always seemed anxious, and he when she needed something, I mean, he would run. He wouldn't walk, he would run, he would get it. He just always seemed to be right there at her beck and call.
And did that seem odd to you? Or?
Very odd. It was very odd. He just seemed nervous.
So how much did you see them over these last 6 years?
Probably twice a year. We would go up there.
Did you stay with them, or?
Yeah, we would stay with them, and stay a week, and then come back home.
Tell me about Bella and Celeste.
Oh, Bella was just like Chris, just like him, shy, cautious, conservative. Cece was a ball of fire. I mean, she was fearless, completely fearless. She just loved to run, 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 run. So they were wonderful. It breaks my heart to know that they're not here. They were beautiful children, beautiful children.
What did they call you?
Mimi.
Mimi? And how about Ronnie? What did they call?
Papa.
Do you think Chris loves Shanann?
Oh God, he loved her. Yes, I believe he loved her at first. I believe he did. But I think as the years went on, I think it just being in that kind of a relationship, which the social worker even said that marriage should have ended a long time ago.
Shanann's pregnancy and was, what did Chris tell you about that? Was he excited?
No, I don't think he was. I think it was a shock to him. And he said that they have been talking about divorce, that they are not compatible anymore, and he was not happy anymore. And I finally thought, he's finally seen the light.
And I take it Chris had never been in trouble with the law?
Never. He's got one speeding ticket and didn't even know about that.
Tell me what happened when they were reported missing. What did you find out? How did you find out? Who told you?
I think Ronnie called me. Ronnie called me and said that they're missing, and I thought, I don't believe it. I didn't believe they were missing. I believed that she was going to punish Chris. She was just going to punish him, take the girls and just punish him. I had no idea of anything else. Christopher called and said, Mom, they're searching the house. I said, okay, that's fine. I mean, and I still was not worried.
Sandra said Chris would sit silently through these remarks, offering no defense, no redirect, no reassurance, just empty stillness. That silence scared me, Sandra confessed. A husband protects his wife, even from his own family. But Chris didn't protect Sean and from anything. In the 2025 interview, Sandra describes Cindy's steady pattern, excluding Sean and from family photos, telling Chris he was being controlled, rolling her eyes when Shanann spoke, complaining that Bella called Shanann's family Nana and Papa too much. And then came the line that stayed stuck in Sandra's chest. Shanann's too emotional. She's too much work. Looking back, Sandra believes Cindy helped shape the version of Chris that finally snapped. Not by causing the crime, but by teaching him, over years, that his wife's needs were burdens instead of responsibilities. Sandra remembers the phone call like a bruise that never faded. Shanann's voice was soft, almost embarrassed. The way someone speaks when they've finally accepted a painful truth. Mom, Cindy is never going to like me. I don't know what I did, but it doesn't matter anymore. She's decided. It happened during a summer visit to North Carolina. Sandra says Shanann walked into Cindy's house trying her best. Gifts for the girls, a warm smile, hope tucked into her chest like a fragile flower. But from the first minute, Cindy's energy was cold stone. She ignored Shanann's greeting. She hugged the kids, but not her. She poured drinks for everyone except the woman carrying her grandchild. And then came the moment that crushed Shanann. She overheard Cindy talking to a neighbor at the fence. Voice low but sharp. Shanann's dramatic. Chris needs someone calmer. Someone more like us. When Shanann told Sandra what happened, she didn't cry. Not then. But her breath wavered. And Sandra heard the exhaustion behind the words. Mom, I'm trying. But it's like she's decided I'm the villain in a story I didn't write. Sandra said what frightened her most wasn't Cindy's hostility. It was Chris's reaction afterward. Or rather, his lack of one. Shanann told him she felt unwelcome, hurt. He stared at the floor and said, just don't make it a big deal. That was the moment Shanann stopped believing that she and Cindy could ever coexist. Sandra says that after that trip, something changed in her daughter. Quietness, a dimming, a sense that she'd been fighting for space in Chris's life. and losing. She felt erased, Sandra said, and no woman should ever feel erased in her own marriage. Sandra remembers the shift as clearly as a weather change, the kind that rolls in without thunder but chills the bones anyway. After the trip to North Carolina, Shanann tried to brush everything off. She told her mom she'd focus on the kids, that she wouldn't let Cindy's bitterness ruin the family. But the cracks were widening in places Shanann didn't want to look. She told Sandra something that still keeps her awake at night. "Mom, he's slipping away from me." It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't panicked. It was observational, like someone taking inventory of damage after a storm. Chris was suddenly short-tempered, distracted, glued to his phone. He'd come home from work and avoid eye contact. A man shrinking himself to avoid accountability. And whenever Shanann brought up their marriage, he'd retreat behind that flat, emotionless wall. "You're overthinking. Don't start. I just need space." But it wasn't the distancing that frightened her most. It was the numbness. Sandra said Shanann described moments that made her skin crawl in hindsight. Chris walking past the girls without greeting them. Chris zoning out at dinner like he wasn't in the same reality. Chris smiling at his phone with an expression Shanann had never seen directed at her. She told Sandra, "I feel like there's a stranger in my house, a stranger wearing my husband's face." The week before Shanann died, she confessed something she'd never admitted out loud. "Mom, he looks at me like he hates me. I don't know what I did." Sandra now believes her daughter sensed the danger long before anyone else did, but she didn't want to believe Chris was capable of true harm. Because believing that meant admitting her family was already gone.
My name is Sandra Rzucek, Shannon's mother. Thank you. I wanted to say thank you for this moment. I want to take a moment to thank everyone who has prayed for our beloved family, who has sent gifts, cards to us from all over the world. I know God will put the evil people where they need to be. I also want to take the time to thank the town of Frederick, Greeley, FBI, the DA's office, the CBI, for exceptional work. We thank Nicole Atkinson, Shannon's neighbor Nathan, and his family. To me, they're our heroes. They really are. God bless. God makes no mistakes on who he puts in your life. Marriage is about love, trust, and friendship and unity. We marry for sickness and health, to death do us part. Our daughter Shanann loved you with all of her heart. Your children loved you to the moon and back. Shannon's family was her world. Shanann put a crown on your head. But unfortunately, the day that you took their life, God removed that crown. We loved you like a son. We trusted you. Your faithful wife trusted you. Your children adored you, and they also trusted you. Your daughter Bella Marie sang a song proudly. I don't know if you got to see it, but it was, "Daddy, you're my hero." I have no idea who gave you the right to take their lives. But I know God and his mighty angels were there at that moment to bring them home to paradise. God gives us free will. So not only did you take the family of four, your family of four, you took your own life. I want the world to know that our daughter and her children were so loved by us. There will always be protected by God and his mighty angels. I didn't want death for you because that's not my right. Your life is between you and God now, and I pray that he has mercy for you. From Shannon's mother, Bella Marie, Celeste Catherine, and Nico Lee's, Nana. Thank you, Your Honor.